morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us today for our latest episode of Coffee and Compliance, which is actually our 10th episode already. We're going to be discussing and answering questions today about the latest EUDR news and compliance in general, and looking at the implications for the supply chain. I'm Holly Waters-Marsh from Urban Fox Marketing, and I'm speaking to Swapan, the CEO of Deeply.
Good morning.
Today we're taking... Good morning, Swapan. We're talking about the EUDR process initially, before we widen that out into compliance in general. So we're going to be bringing you up to speed on the latest outcomes. So we're going to be talking about the latest EUDR news and the impact of a further delay and or simplification. We're going to be talking about as well the supply chain and how it should use this period of uncertainty, but also about regulatory compliance and why that can be a strategic priority for companies. So just to recap before I pass over to Swapan, the EUDR, the EU Deforestation Regulation, remains one of the most impactful and complex regulations affecting global supply chains, especially for commodities such as timber. The situation is defined by political negotiations, industry readiness challenges, and has been affected by moving timelines since it came into being. But the regulation is still moving forward, and the final call will be on December the 15th. Regardless of EUDR specifically, compliance is imperative for businesses to ensure that their integrity is upheld and that the market can see their intentions. So back to the initial focus points for our discussion, so I can hand over to Swapan. What is the latest EUDR news and what would be the impact of a further delay and or simplification?
Yeah, good. Many thanks for the introduction. Yes, EUDR, as we already talked for a while during the last sessions, hot topic. Everybody's observing what's moving on. And a lot of comments we can read on the internet, on the LinkedIn. But let's keep to the facts, because that's important. Yeah. So we have the last news from yesterday, the vote of the EU Parliament to postpone the enforcement of EUDR by 12 months. So large and medium companies end of 2026, and micro and small till the mid of 2027. So equally as it is now, but it is postponed. Yeah, and now everybody's waiting for the next step, which is the discussions between the Commission, the Council, and the Parliament. And the final vote will happen on the December 15th. So in practice, what we should expect, that whatever will be agreed and voted, we will learn by mid of December. So difficult to predict exactly what's going to happen. And we still need to get the process in place. So the new changes needs to be published, and that should happen before December 30th this year. Yeah. Otherwise, the current version of the EUDR will be in force.
Yeah, absolutely. So that deadline it doesn't change at the moment until we hear otherwise. So how should the supply chain use this period of uncertainty?
Yeah, the supply chains we can basically split into two groups. The pioneers who began last year, because we should also emphasize that the regulation is applicable since June 2023. So there are a lot of companies who already have prepared themselves for the first countdown, which was the end of last year. Then we got the first postponement, and a huge level of companies this year have invested a lot in their processes, and IT systems to meet the regulatory. So we could read also some statements from these groups that they would like to just continue because they are prepared. On the other hand, we got a lot of concerns from the associations who want to postpone and basically to make the facts on the table. It's supporting the groups which are not preparing at all, and there are a lot of companies which simply decided not to prepare, anticipating that there will be a delay. Yeah, so we got those two groups of approaches. And obviously, the most important is, especially from our perspective as a as a technology provider supporting the companies in getting compliant, is we really need to know what's going to happen. Yeah. So as you mentioned, uncertain just period in business is not good for anyone. Yeah. So we are supporting our clients with offering them extra license free just period just to keep the momentum for them to get compliant. And very importantly, to be, I mean, said, before you begin to understand what you need to do in your operation, you will find out usually that it will take you weeks or months until really you can implement all the processes. Not the technology. Technology is easy, but the documentation flow. Yeah, and here is the very important I mean part. So here the recommendation which we're giving, obviously supporting all those who are willing to just continue, just move on, and to the others, you should really think to bring your operations to the right level, or at least understand by putting in place the procedure of implementing UDR, how long time it will take you. So that is the recommendation to all, and we really would like that the politicians are coming with decisions. Actually, there are a lot of discussions. So why these changes didn't begin a few months ago? Yeah, and why they're all put on a last minute? Yeah, so yeah, we're always giving a comparison. Yeah, it's like you're embarking in aircraft. You fasten your seatbelts, and now will you get a high level of turbulence or low level? It will be a very pleasant flight, or not really, because you're flying in the storm. Yeah. So in business, you really need to have clarity. And that's what I think most of the companies are missing today.
Yeah. And when we talk about that wider compliance piece, so we've talked a lot about EUDR, but if we think wider than that, then why should regulatory compliance be a strategic priority for companies?
Yeah, I mean, when we look at the market in general, yeah, obviously we're now talking about the commodities which are under UDR. Yeah, everybody knows, not need to. I mean mention there are a number of supply chains which are affected by those commodities just partially. They are providing their processes to all the commodities they're trading or producing. Yeah. So we need to understand that being compliant is not just a selective window for a regulatory. It is a strategic decision of a company in a supply chain, especially when you are at the top of the supply chain, and you need to look upstream. Yeah. So to understand and recognize what's happening in my upstream supply chain, that is the question mark. And we see with the projects we are have implemented and were in implementation that the clients are now looking to broader their compliance view, not just related to the commodities under EUDR. Yeah. So if the politicians are hesitating till the last minute what to do. The market is not keeping just quiet, is moving. And
Mm.
the market will decide how the supply chains will be affected by not only the regulatories, which EUDR is just one of, yeah, we got many other which are affecting compliance and reporting. It's more about how my organization, my brand will be placed in my supply chain and what's my future long-term strategy.
Yeah. And so, Swapan, do you think that the market will keep driving compliance irrespective of what's going to happen?
That's the recommendation which we are giving to the clients with supporting them with the technology. There are, I think, in the mind of many CEOs and COOs, is yes, the compliance is important. I mean, topic which we need to, I mean, handle. But the question is, how do we do it? We see the level of complexity. We see the issues which are around. And at the same time, we also see, and there are a lot of informations you can read that companies have lost significantly, not only financially, but also on their brand reputation when misappropriations happened in their supply chain. Yeah. So the perspective, the future of compliance is there basically. Is not negotiable. Question
Mm.
is who will decide to bring the processes in his company, in his supply chain first, and obviously who will wait. We always see in the market that they are the early adopters who want really to lead the market, and
Mm.
these are those who are working with us. And those who are observers and are waiting, yeah. So my recommendation is waiting is not the best idea to implement in business. Yeah? Whatever you decide, just have a plan and fulfill it.
Yeah. And the next question here, can the operators finally expect business stability?
That's what everybody is looking at. I also mentioned that what we are hearing. Look, I have prepared my IT system based on the regulatory requirements. Now they were announced simplification, so I need to adjust. So I need to have additional cost. Yeah.
Mm.
Now we're hearing maybe there will be some more. I mean, changes, more simplifications. Yeah. So simplifications in general, very good thing because nobody likes complexity if it doesn't have, I mean, sense. But clarity in what's going to happen is important for all. So
Mm.
the sooner we know what's going to happen, the better. And I'm pretty sure that the companies are willing to adopt accordingly. But they need to know what's going to happen. It's important to be said, which I also mentioned, that there was one delay already happened, and we learned from that. I mean, delay that the market basically has been frozen for 6 months. Yeah, so nothing happened this year in the first 6 months. Very few
Mm.
projects. Everything what was happening began basically from June. Yeah. So do we want to face the same, that the market will just react in the same way? All depends how the message will be put to the market and how it will be just communicated. Look, we want to simplify, and basically that is the real last call of simplification, and that's it. Now let's move on. That's what everybody is expecting, to have
Yeah,
a clarity what to do. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And what are the other impacts of EUDR due diligence declaration postponement?
I mean, the critical impact which we need to put on the table, because nobody's talking about it in a straightforward way, uh, are imports to the EU market. Yeah, we're talking about simplifications for operators within the EU. We're talking about, how we can make the, let's say, life easier, which is perfect. Yeah. But at the same time, if we don't have protection of the EU market, we are allowing to bring to the EU market products today which are deforested, which are
Mm,
degraded or are illegal. So we're not supporting our EU member the companies. They already are facing, depending on the industry, but one example in the furniture industry, they're really facing a high competitiveness with the products coming from China or Vietnam. So how can we deal with that? Yeah, we should really focus first on the impulse, and really, from my personal perspective and experience in business, we should still think to keep the deadline for imports to EU. We can do whatever simplifications and postponement for the companies within EU, which is fine. But if we don't protect, the EU market, we can't say that we're helping the companies in getting simplifications, because at the same time we're hurting them by the postponement date and not really putting on the table the real problem. And the real problem is, majority of the deforestation, degradation, and illegal activities are happening outside of EU. So
mm,
why don't we try to protect our EU market? I personally don't understand why this topic is not being discussed at all.
mm. Yeah, that's a very fair point. And in terms of what are the main risks of a delay in implementation, both for companies preparing now and for stakeholder trust or credibility? I think trust is a real key aspect in this as well, isn't it? That whole credibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as I mentioned, there is a vast number of companies who even don't understand what they need to do under UDR. Yeah.
Mm,
So, in practice, what we're really are facing, some companies it will take few weeks, some few months, and there are some very complex supply chain which is taking a year. Yeah. So now, if you're think about your business, yeah, where you are in the supply chain, do the mapping, get prepared, understanding what you need to do. Because if you'll just wait now for a few months that nothing will happen, you will face the same issue after 6 months, yeah. And you will say, yeah, but again, I was not informed, I didn't know, etc. Yeah. I think now you should know that the regulation will be there with whatever simplification that doesn't, I mean, matter. But think about your organization, how fast you can really implement all the obligations. And it's not counted in days, it's counted in weeks or months.
Yeah. And do you think that a delay could weaken the ambition or effectiveness of EUDR? Have we had too many discussions about this? Is it watering down what it's trying to achieve?
Yes, yes, because one of the I'm fully supportive of is that there is a lack of really information from the administration, from the competent authorities, yeah, to support the companies on a country level, how they should understand their obligations under UDR, what they should do, how they should proceed. Yeah. So if this doesn't change, we still will be facing situations that someone was told by a friend that, oh, just be careful, you're also under UDR. Yeah. So that's not the way how to really deploy regulatory obligations. Yeah. So with the all proposed, I mean changes, I would really like to see also a very strong activity at the EU level, at the country, level, in educating the market and supporting the market, what they need to do as a stakeholder operator in a supply chain. Yeah, and they will get a lot of inquiries, I'm sure.
Mhm. And what would that mean for deforestation-free supply chain commitments globally?
I mean, yeah, you can read what is the opinion of the all NGOs. Yeah, basically, you decided not to focus on deforestation for the next 12 months. Yeah,
Mhm.
so I would put let's on the political level stop discussing that we're focusing on climate, focusing on deforestation, on degradation, on any illegal activities. No, we're not. We're postponing. Yeah, so we're postponing. We're accepting that what's happening will happen for the next 12 months, and that's simply a fact. There are a lot of reports done by the NGOs.
Yeah,
Everybody can have a look and can see what is the cost of the delay. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And then the last question that's really focused on the EUDR, and then we'll move on to the wider subject. But in your view, what is the single biggest risk and biggest opportunity presented by these recent EUDR updates?
The discussion about the changes, the engagement of the associations has one positive, which is the awareness. In the last few months, many companies were informed that they are under EUDR, which they were not aware of. Yeah? So at least we now have the full awareness, hopefully. And now what we would expect is that not only, as I mentioned, the administration via the competent authorities on a country level, but also the associations will support their members, not in just stating stop the clock, which is a nice statement.
Mm.
I would say, so what's next? Yeah.
Mm.
And let's see what will be their agenda, what will be their activity, how they will begin
Mm.
now after whatever has been decided act in order to keep the momentum and get their members as fast as possible on the track of getting compliant.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. So, moving on from EUDR and thinking about that wider compliance piece, how can being an early mover in compliance help companies win contracts or access new markets?
We need to understand that EUDR is covering six commodities. There are multiple supply chains which are partially affected by EUDR. There are other regulations as well in place. Yeah? So Once the supply chains decided to meet the EUDR obligations, they will continue. Yeah, I mean, this is what we're seeing. I mean, today, there's not only continuity in the obligations under EUDR, but also spreading it around to other commodities, understanding that once we are building a trusted supply chain, then we will just gain. Yeah. And we see that the companies which are at the end of the supply chains, which are basically moving the commodities to the retail, to the final the consumers, are demanding from their suppliers, please ensure me that your commodities are compliant, irrespective of those which are under EUDR. Yeah, I was facing recently a question from one client, and he said, "I don't understand why my buyer is expecting me to provide all the due diligence processes for commodities, not only for those under EUDR." Yeah,
Mm,
that's obvious. Yeah, he wants to have a trusted supply chain. Yeah, it's not just picking up, I mean, cherries that, okay, you do this because of EUDR and this commodity. No, you're my supplier. You need to get compliant in all commodities. Yeah.
mm,
So, having that in mind, I strongly see that the market will drive the compliance more than the regulatory ambitions. Yeah?
mm. And then finally, we've just got a few minutes left now, but how does digital traceability reduce risk and cost in the long term?
I mean, this is the I mean topic where we're entering the discussions with the clients. We're demonstrating how the technology can support them to achieve the traceability transparency at a transaction, I mean level. Yeah, because that is the really core. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not about getting just certified as a company. On a sample level, we know the audits are happening. It's not about putting any declarations. It's about having hard evidence, yeah? And hard evidence you can get once you are providing the entire processes on a transaction, I mean, level, yeah? So getting the layer of compliance on transactions, that's the, I mean, future. And the technology is there, it's ready, it is supporting. And obviously, the implementations are being done based on the commodities you're dealing with. Yeah, you will have a different uh, process for timber, you will have a different process for coffee or cacao, and you will have a different process for an item which is outside of EUDR. Yeah, so you can say a spare part. Yeah. So
Mm,
how do you know that the spare part, which is with the label of a vendor, is really the spare part coming from that vendor, and it is not counterfeited? Yeah. So all those items are important, and the technology is there, and that's what we're really doing. We're supporting the clients in the entire supply chains to get compliant. And yeah, that for sure is the future, irrespective of any political moves or regulatory changes or modifications.
yeah, brilliant. Thank you for that, Swapan. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode of Coffee and Compliance. So thank you again for joining us today for our 10th episode. As a bit of a summary then, so we've talked about the latest updates and what that means for the supply chain as a whole, as well as what any change to the timeline would mean for the impact of EUDR, but also the wider topic of compliance and why that's strategically important for businesses. So what's next? Keep driving your business, valuing the supply chain compliance and the traceability chain of custody. So join us next Thursday at 9:30 and we'll be answering your questions again, this time about the future of trust and how we can build digital ecosystems together. See you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.